Jump off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome. You are tuned in to Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on NBC News, CNBC News, and NBC Sports Radio Channel KCAA, AM 1050, FM 102.3, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, Audible, Amazon Music, and more. All of the major platforms, because I want to maximize my splatter zone for hope and happiness. You know me as the hashtag positively opinionated Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah, because I was introduced to her actually as the Asian Oprah by my big brother, Michael Bernard Beckwith. And since then it stuck. Little side note, I was actually called that years prior to actually meeting Oprah, but I was a little tentative about the giant shoes to walk into. But since then, I've been told that it is an honor, and it is, to have that reference, as well as, if you notice, the shy me on stage or on the red carpet. There's something that happens when I say, this is Dr. Marissa reporting live. You know me as the Asian Oprah. It just puts people at ease. They chuckle, they kind of relax, and I get a much better interview. And you saw that happen with Halle Berry and John Travolta when I showed you the red carpets. And thank you for all the beautiful messages of congratulations. I got a wonderful one from Rick in the Morning on behalf of KCAA, and I haven't figured out how to get the audio downloaded from my phone and to put it on here, but thank you very much, Rick, as well as all of my KCAA family, Mark Westwood, my fabulous station manager, Fred Lundgren, my amazing station owner, as well as his son, Mike Lundgren, and Joe Pagano, and all the other guys on site. Thank you so much for supporting my show. And I forgot to thank you formally, especially since I just celebrated 500 consecutive weeks on the air. But who's counting? So this marks the 501st week beginning this December 1st. And I'm so grateful. And for those of you who are observant and caught that I'm on show 581, how did I manage doing that many shows when it's just 500 consecutive weeks? Well, thank you for asking that question. I was on once a week, and I was on once a week for 400 and I believe 70 some weeks. And then I got a call from the station owner saying, would you like to be the new morning host here at KCAA? And I said, of course I would. Not quite thinking through what one show a week going to 5 shows a week in 3 segments is going to translate, but no regrets. That's my life motto for the past, and don't die wondering for the future. So between those two, I jumped on it, and that's why there are more shows than consecutive weeks. But thank you. No matter what the number is, I continue to be blessed. I love my job. I love what I get to do. And I love y'all for being here, continuing to laugh with me, learn with me, love with me, and be amazing with me. That's you. Boo. All right. So December 1st, we're in a new month. And what day is it today? Well, thanks to nationalday.com, they're supplying me with little known facts about today. There's several deliciousness of life celebrations. One is Eat a Red Apple Day. the National Eat a Red Apple Day, and National Pie Day. Now, that one's probably a little more delicious for many of us, so you do have permission to have a piece of pie or more for celebrating National Pie Day. And guess what? There's actually 2 National Pie Days. I was going to say, I think I remember the first one. January 23rd is the other one. And then, of course, there's National Pie Day, P-I. And then there's National Pay Day, which is my last name. Okay, we'll stop with that. So you can use a hashtag today, National Pie Day. What's your favorite? I would say, let's see, I know that my dad, my bonus dad who just turned 92, his favorite pie is cherry pie. I think my favorite pie it's a cross between peach pie, especially when it's fresh, and, I don't know, boysenberry pie is good. Lemon meringue, banana cream. Never mind. I'm going to stop talking about it or I'm never going to get through this show. What other thing is going on December 1st? It is Rosa Parks Day, which honors an American civil rights hero. She actually gets 2 days as well. February 4th, which I believe is in the season for nonviolence. As well as December 1st, because in 1955, on December 1st, after a long Thursday at work, Rosa Parks boarded a bus in Montgomery, Alabama. She took her seat in the colored section. As she rode the Cleveland Avenue bus home, the bus began to fill. The Montgomery City Ordinance allowed bus drivers to assign seating. However, it did not permit them to demand passengers give up their seats. Despite this, bus drivers customarily required Black passengers to give up their seats to white passengers when public transportation became full. When the bus driver asked Parks to give up her seat, she refused. Police arrested her, and what followed is civil rights history. On December 5th, 1955, the courts found Parks guilty of violating the city ordinance and fined her $10 plus a court fee. African-American leaders, including E.D. Nixon and Martin Luther King Jr., organized the Montgomery bus boycott for the date of Rosa Parks' trial. The boycott succeeded and lasted several months, devastating the transportation system in Montgomery. So thank you, Rosa Parks, for standing your ground or sitting your ground or sitting your seat and really affecting some needed change that our country continues to grow through. We are not even halfway to where we need to be, but things have improved and will continue to improve as we all hashtag be the change. And I'll use this as a time to again encourage you, if you've not watched 13th. Yeah, I think it's one of the most illuminating documentary. I don't even know if it was maybe a docu-film, but it's truly eye-opening. So if you have not watched that on Netflix, please do, because we all need to understand how the current system in our jails is really just an extension of slavery. So until we are aware and have a willingness to change those things, we are going to continue to see bad behavior all over. All right. Finally, December 1st is World AIDS Day, and people around the world unite to observe it. Founded in 1988, the World AIDS Day aims to bring awareness to the international HIV epidemic. This year, the World AIDS Day highlights the urgent need to end this epidemic by reducing the stigma around HIV and righting healthcare inequities. Together, we can stop the stigma around HIV and rid our community of discrimination against those with the virus through open discussion and active listening. So if you're anywhere near Long Beach, make plans to come down when the Long Beach Department of Health and Human Services and the LGBTQ Center Long Beach will host an event where the names of those who died in 2021 from complications due to HIV, and it's going to be followed by the center's annual candlelight march down to the beach. So it's at Bixby Park, which is right near my place, which is kind of cool. And 3 o'clock is the resource fair, 5 p.m. guest speakers and the reading of the names, and then 6 p.m. the candlelight vigil traveling from Bixby Park down Cherry to Wanapero Beach. Attendees will call out names of loved ones that have died anytime during the HIV/AIDS epidemic. And I'll be there talking about one of my best friends who's on the other side, Michael Maine. I went to grad school with him and I love him, and I know he continues to love me from heaven where he is. So I wanted just to recognize him right now. And let's just take a deep breath in through the nose and releasing through the mouth. Peace and comfort to any and all of those who have lost loved ones to HIV, to COVID, anything that took them from this realm into the next. But so knowing that their love transcends physical beings, bodies, love is eternal. So I'm wishing you the memory of their love in the present tense. Okay? Beautiful. Now, when we come back, I have a special on-location report for you. It is regarding ghost guns. And the good news is LA City Council voted to pass an ordinance to prohibit ghost guns in the city of LA. And I didn't even know what they were. So I was happy to be sent by my New York news agency to cover the event. I got to meet a whole host of really cool people, city council members, as well as Police Chief Michael Moore, and most importantly, a woman from Women Against Gun Violence. And her name is Lorraine Moreland, and she was kind enough to give me a beautiful book. So we're definitely going to have her on at some point. You'll hear her story from my interview with her, along with all kinds of important information about ghost guns. When we come back on Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It, Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind.
Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And we're back. You're tuned into Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, NBC News Radio Channel, AM 1050, FM 102.3, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere, including my YouTube channel. We are almost at 250,000 views. So if you free subscribe, not only will you get a lot of my on-location interviews, as well as red carpet interviews, as well as all of my past 581 of today's 582 shows. So love for you to free subscribe there and to stay in contact. Those of you may know I'm Doc Balance on Instagram, Dr. Marissa pretty much everywhere else. So stay in touch there. I try to post something fun and positive at least once a day. So you can find me there. And thank you. I had a plethora of orders of my Happy 88 meal for Giving Tuesday. It's not too late. You get $88 worth of happy tools and happy stuff, downloads and books and music for just $28. And that goes to my nonprofit, 501c 8 Ways to Happiness, which helps kids, teens, and young adults who are temporarily forgotten their birthright to happiness. All right. And as promised, here are the clips from my on location City Hall, downtown LA, about ghost guns. Take a listen.
There are no federal restrictions on who can buy ghost gun kits, how many kits or parts someone can purchase, and how they're intentionally marketed as unregulated and untraceable to appeal to people prohibited from purchasing firearms illegally, or legally, I should say. Please understand they're not marketed to law-abiding hobbyists who are going to take a stroll to their friendly neighborhood federally licensed firearms dealer to pick up a ghost gun kit. They're marketed to people who would otherwise be prohibited from purchasing and possessing firearms.
We now have a cottage industry popping up in this country and in other countries to manufacture deadly weapons that serve no purpose other than avoiding background checks and avoiding being traced after a crime is committed. That's what a ghost gun is. This is not something that any law-abiding gun owner has any interest in owning. These products are manufactured intentionally and marketed intentionally to put deadly weapons into the hands of people who would not otherwise have access to deadly weapons.
Some numbers on that. Last year, 813 ghost guns were recovered over the course of the entire year. This year already, we have nearly 1,800 guns. 1,780 ghost guns have been recovered. And these are not guns that are being recovered from prohibited possessors because we're doing checks, because we're doing door knocks, because we don't know that they have ghost guns. The only reason you know a prohibited possessor has guns is because they acquire a licensed and serialized weapon, and the systems in place flag that, and we go out 30 to 40 times a month and recover guns from prohibited possessors that buy them from trades or other mechanisms. But ghost guns is a whole other level, because of our effectiveness of being able to stop prohibited possessors from having firearms. They now go to this side market and they're buying guns every day in this city.
And these organizations that are joining with us have been on the front lines of this fight for decades, and we appreciate their collaboration here today. And with that, we're all happy to answer any questions.
Is there a way to work with 3D printer manufacturers to put some kind of a, I don't know, AI is smart, so you would think that getting it from the source of the manufacturing?
I think it's a great question. The question is in here, is there a way in which we can introduce some technology where 3D printers would not be allowed to manufacture certain designs or configurations? I'm aware that such software, if you will, exists within the printing society for currency. I'm not aware of such a mechanism, given the complexity of what that might mean about a gun part. There's many parts that go into manufacturing of a weapon, and if there's such a means of controlling it, we certainly would be interested in the industry if they could design such a mechanism.
Good morning, this is Dr. Marissa reporting live. You know me as the Asian Oprah, and I'm downtown LA at City Hall, and we're about to have a press conference here. Well, I'm not, but the place is, and I have someone here that can tell me what this is all about.
Hi, my name is Lorraine Marlin, and I will be happy to tell you and everyone else what this is about. We won! So
What did
the
you
ghost
win?
gun is out.
Okay, the ghost gun is out.
It's out.
All right. So,
And it will be signed before the day is over.
all right, and tell me what the ghost gun is.
It's a gun that you make on the computer, and it has no way to be found who did it or whatever. It's It's dangerous than the other guns that they have in the stores and
Because it's
stuff.
not traceable.
No, it's not traceable.
Is it like a 3D printing kind of thing?
Yes. You know, like those computers, they make all kind of things. You know,
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
an
yeah,
old-fashioned woman, but
no.
if I could make a dress, I would probably, but I wouldn't make a ghost gun.
Yeah.
Because the thing about a ghost gun, it is hurting people that's holding on to them more than it is going out with.
Okay.
It's hurting people.
Because people see it as a weapon and then they fight back.
Yes,
Okay.
and what broke my heart the most, I heard that a homeless woman had one, and they had to shoot her, and it was sad.
So what organization are you with? That's
I'm with
trying to
Women Against Gun Violence
Beautiful.
because I
Beautiful.
lost 2 handsome sons on the streets of Los Angeles.
I'm so
One in
sorry.
2001 and one in 2007.
I'm so sorry.
And they wasn't a gangbanger. They was very beautiful men with children of their own that loved them very much. I taught them well, but
What happened?
when you have rivals coming in the neighborhood and you have handsome boys like I did, it causes problems because the girls go between
So they
and
were-
start, yeah.
Okay.
So,
Well,
you
I'm
know,
sorry for your loss. I'm very grateful. I love people who take their pain and transmute it into helpful things, which is what you do. So I'm giving you Dr. Marissa's Beneficial Presence on the Planet Award
oh well.
because of the work that you're doing.
But
So
let me
thank
tell you
so much.
something.
Yes.
The Women Against Gun Violence, I was a mess. They took me out to lunch, and my first son, when he got killed, I was a mess. I didn't know how to deal with it. I thought I was the only one that going through this, and they told me the young girl said, "Miss Marlin, you can be a voice for those that don't have a voice."
There you go.
I must have choked. I said, "What?"
Yeah.
It made me realize I wasn't the only mother going through it.
Yep.
So yes, I wanted to be a voice to help other mothers to deal with it, because even to this day, it's very, very difficult for a mother that loses her child.
Yeah, for sure. For sure.
So they really helped me. So if
I'm
you're
so-
going through anything of a loss of a child or anyone, please get in contact with the Women Against Gun Violence.
Oh, beautiful.
They
Thank
will
you.
help you.
Thank you so much. All right. Now you were just flashing peace at the podium. Ready? Peace in, peace out, world peace
World peace.
through inner peace.
Inner peace.
Thank you.
And I do love the fact that my side job of beat reporting does nicely feed into my ability to have this continued show about hope and happiness, balancing out the bad news with good news, finding out what's going on so we can figure out how to fix it, becoming aware of what's going on. I was kind of saddened and a little concerned about the statistics that the police chief was talking about. But at the same time, what we're aware of, we can make decisions to change. And this is definitely one of those areas. So hopefully no one you know is using 3D printing to create weapons that kill and hate. But if you do, please do report it as well. If you have a weapon that falls under ghost guns or any non-registered, please know that you can turn them in to any police stations, no questions asked. Okay? And when we come back, I have a beautiful spotlight interview, again, balancing out the, this is horrible with, guess what? There are people doing things to help the situation, to help incarcerated youth understand that they have options, helping youth to understand that they don't have to join a gang. And his name is Orland Bishop. He won an award at Agape, which is how I met him, and I invited him on years ago, but his message is timeless. So don't go away. Come back for my spotlight interview with Orland Bishop here on Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It. Get balance with Dr. Marissa the the morning show here on KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind.
Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And we're back. You're tuned into Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, NBC News Radio, AM 1050, FM 102.3, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere, including the Listen Now button at kcaaradio.com, my YouTube channel that I told you about. Please go to Linktree. I have a ton of links there. I tried to remember to put today's show in today's show link, so you can always follow up there. And as promised, the Spotlight interview with Orland Bishop, and it's a special part of my Radio for a Deaf Community series, thanks to Sharon Pierre-Louis, one of my wonderful staff interpreters. She was the first, and I am so grateful that she answered the call many years ago when I asked her to come and make this show accessible, because of the cameras in the studio, to those who use American Sign Language, which, by the way, I think is the most beautiful language in the world. All right, without further ado, here's Orland Bishop.
My guest is the first winner this year of Agape's International Spiritual Center Season Awards. Orland Bishop is the founder and director of Shade Tree Multicultural Foundation in Los Angeles, where he's pioneered new approaches to creating urban truces and youth mentorship. Please welcome Orland Bishop to my studio.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Marissa. It's good to be here with you.
It is wonderful to have you. Yes. So let's start out with, I haven't used the Wikipedia for a while, so I'm going to say nonviolence, because this whole area of how do you get to peace through war is what my daughter said when she was a teenager. And we currently are always ensconced in war in an effort to bring peace. And so war is violent.
Yes.
Peace is nonviolence. So I wanted us to focus today on all those tough questions that people ask around how can you possibly bring about needed change without getting violent. And the very first questions I wanted to start with is, how can we be nonviolent? Isn't it human nature to be violent? Like, isn't that just our impulse when somebody does something to us we don't like? Our first response is not, bless you, unless you're Mother Teresa, right? Or Martin Luther King. It is to rise up and get mad and do something. So first of all, is violence inherent to humanity?
Well, one has to ask the question, where is the human nature located? Where is human nature located? If we can point to a place within the human constitution, that we say that is human nature, would be the body.
Okay.
The physical body has defense processes, immunity,
fight and flight, yes,
all the substances. However, that part of human nature is controlled by human supernature, which means thoughts.
Correct.
So we could actually influence our bodies to not react to conditions that may put it into even fight or flight. The critical thing about the body, it must be developed and cared for and nurtured and mature through consciousness.
Okay.
So consciousness is not nature. Consciousness is human, which means the human nature is a collaboration between consciousness and form, body, whereby we could take hold of this organic process and develop it to be able to have a more truthful
So
expression of ourselves.
So you're saying that we can actually choose our thoughts, which then break down the impulse to fight.
To react.
So
yes.
so if humans do get angry, you're saying that we can actually interject a thought that will get us down.
Energies follows thoughts.
Energies follows thoughts. Okay.
Physical, emotional energy follows
Okay, so
thinking.
let's go right, put the moose on the table, and which is my Canadian version of the elephant in the room.
Yes.
You hear about ISIS. You hear about people beheading innocent people. Mm-hmm. You hear about Coney taking child soldiers and making them shoot their parents. You see people bombing and the atrocities that come from violence,
yes.
uncalled for violence. Right. Okay, how do you not go in and eliminate those who are perpetrating the violence?
Yes. Well, some people get to the point where thoughts cannot be shared.
Okay.
Think about violence. It interrupts the processes that people naturally want to be in, which is community or a shared reality, ultimately. Now, we have come to the point in which...
let me back up.
Right.
I don't know about that. I mean, you yes. surround yourself with people who want shared community, who believe that, we're all one. And I believe that. Right. But I'm just going to speak on behalf of some people who will remain unnamed to protect the guilty. But yes. The average American will say, so-and-so are taking our jobs. Okay, overseas, yes. or so and so is hurting us. World Trade Center, ISIS. Okay, so we're not one. We have to protect ourselves, and so when I hear that doesn't sound like we're all one.
Right.
Okay, so how do you address that?
So protection is necessary for sustainability of what is naturally good and normal for a person's well-being.
Okay.
But we're not just protectors, we're providers as well. We must also initiate providing the processes to allow consciousness to meet its higher purpose. The fact that most people whose thinking brings them to violence is the fact that their thinking has fallen from a level of interest in the other person's well-being to self-interest, which is I want them to be and do what I say. So the critical thing is that we take away the fundamental principle that gives human being the natural propensity, which is to give. We are normally givers. When we decide to take something, or they're taking our jobs, or they're taking our resources, is the fact that we are actually believing in scarcity.
Yes.
And this is the critical thing about violence.
Yes.
It begins with scarcity.
Yes.
If a person lives in a feeling of abundance, the natural process is giving. And means that you actually will see alternatives to all the things that are going on in the world.
Right. And there will be those who say it is human nature to be violent and selfish. Okay. And you're saying that we can choose to believe that, or we can choose to believe the global truth, which I believe,
yes.
which is that isn't human nature. Our human nature is connected to the same source nature that made the dolphins and the flowers and is about feeding and giving and contributing and to everyone's highest good.
Yes.
So I will say that it's a choice. I mean, someone can choose to believe that it's human nature to hurt people, right. and to believe the worst case scenario, and to believe the lack and limitation, and to believe that everybody is out to get us. Right. I mean, that's a fundamental BS
yes.
belief system that you can choose, and people do choose it. A lot of people choose it,
yes.
but you're offering a different way, or that interjecting that belief system that says, no, we are givers more than we're takers. We're providers more than we're selfish taking. And then that concept of abundance, which I also share with you, is that, and we have proof, there's more food on the planet to feed every starving child 10 times over, right? But the fact that we still have poverty and starvation is stemming from that belief system that if you get some, I don't, right? And I get this, I hear it all the time. Why, Dr. Marissa, do you talk about, helping people in Africa or helping people when we have starving children in our own backyard? And my response always is, let's help everywhere.
Yes. And there's a capacity for that.
Right,
yes.
right. Interesting.
Yeah. So if we look, that some of these issues have been inherited. So some people do not take up violence because of a choice. It's a sensitivity and an unfulfilled need that results in violence. Let's go back to fundamental thing about hunger, since you mentioned it here. That if the body is starving, the body is going through internal violence. Starvation is violence to the physical body. We're not designed to starve. We're designed to be fulfilled by food, by nourishment. The body is sensitive to starvation. Now, a person may not act out. Most people do not act out violently if they're starving. But it gets to the point when people see food around them and they're starving, the natural thing is, how do I get my needs met?
All right. And
if there's not a social space for them to be able to have that need be met, if no one is paying attention to it, the consciousness will want to steal. Because it is, in a certain way, compulsory from the physical existence level that if I'm to exist, I must take. Now, if I'm just taking from nature, no problem. Nature gives.
Right.
But if I'm taking from people who says nature belongs to me, or these are my property rights and this is my stuff, then we're breaking a social covenant. And so most violence has to do with the social processes and nothing in nature, not in human nature or in great nature. Violence has to do with the social space between two or more human beings who create specific agreements of what's mine and what's yours. And if those things are violated, then we put it in relationship to violence. However, there is always the backspace to this reality is the fact that we could still design a healthier space where violence could be eliminated, because we will meet people's needs at a level in which the natural step is when these needs are met, we automatically move to a place of creativity.
Okay. So in the background, for those of you who don't know, I think the fact that you're founder of Shade Tree Multicultural Foundation and the work that you do is to, and correct me, actually you say what you're supposed to do so I don't take a guess and be wrong, because I don't like being wrong.
Well, Shade
and that's that social structure right there. Go ahead.
Well, thank you so much. Shade Tree was founded particularly to assist young people who had been exposed to violence, who had been living in it, who had inherited gang violence, who had inherited these social unmet needs, to navigate themselves out of it. How do I begin to address meeting my needs? And so we created a mentorship project we call Genesis Pathway. The human being can begin. Let me continue with this idea of starving. Starvation at a certain point has to do with flows of some type of food or whatever it might be needed to nourish, if that's not there. But we've taken cultural rituals that require people to fast.
Right.
Now, at the first day, it might feel like starving.
Right.
Second day might feel like starving. But then the third and fourth day, when you're committed to it, it becomes a fast that begins to nourish other capacities.
Okay.
And the body overcomes the fact that it is not persecution.
It's not being punished.
It's not violence.
It's not being punished.
It's not being punished. And take up a kind of creativity to allow an inner need to step in. The need for will to overcome, to create. When this substance is impressed into the physical body, we then can come out of those cultural rituals with a certain awareness that I'm part of a whole that's always providing, always guiding, always nourishing, always creating, and I will find the relationships in the world that will meet my needs.
Okay.
So we began to support young people to find those processes, to take them up, and to a certain way meet their needs.
Okay. And I'm going to play the other side for a second.
Yes.
So a young man, okay, in LA is caught stealing, okay, or commits an act of violence.
Yes.
Okay. And so he goes to jail to pay for and be responsible for his breaking of that social construct or contract, and goes into the prison system or the juvenile system. And I had Clyde Terry on a former show, Emerging Leadership Academy, which you guys need to meet because you're doing the same thing, is providing a different solution to the consequence of being violent or the consequence of committing a crime, because that hasn't worked.
Yes.
Our system, which is based on if you do the crime, you do the time, right? And that system is not working. I have not heard one positive statistic that our traditional prison system is working. Instead, we have the highest rate of recidivism in California. We have way too many people in buildings that can't house them. It's a $1 billion industry. I heard a disturbing statistic a couple weeks ago. I was having lunch with another show sponsor who tried to put a system in place to help inmates who were drug addicts. Yes. And it wouldn't go. It would have saved billions of tax dollars, but it didn't go because the union and the system that is really vested in keeping people in prison is not allowing it. So if for those of you who believe in if you do the crime, you pay the time, you do the time, that approach to rehabilitating people who commit crime isn't working. Okay, right. If it were working, we wouldn't have more and more. We have more and more. We don't have less and less. So one of the reasons why it was very, I knew I was going to bring you on here is because your philosophy goes to that. It goes before the crime.
Right.
It goes before the violence. So for those of you who didn't have that sort of example in the background, you're saying that if people commit crime, okay, and especially right now when all I hear is, how long are we going to deal with the race issue? How long are we going to excuse people for doing crime just because of the color of their skin? If they do the crime, they should have been shot. If they do the crime, they should be, punished. And that, again, okay, in theory, that was supposed to work. But it's led us to where we are. We are, on one hand, we do a lot better when it comes to race relations. On the other hand, we don't. Right. And my assistant producer's always bringing that up to me. And it's a sensitive topic, but it requires a fundamental shift of how we look at violence. Right. And you're saying, correct me if I'm wrong, is there are reasons that young men and women make choices for violence that comes from a survival kind of instinct that can be shifted if we go back to their fundamental belief systems and their fundamental skills that are acquired, just like you were talking about the body and starvation. So if they're starving, instead of going to steal, they go starving and they go within and develop those skills, qualities, and abilities that allow them to make different choices. Right. Is that about?
Yes.
Okay, good.
So within nature, within human nature,
yes.
one of the fundamental things that starts in early development in childhood
mm-hmm.
is speech.
Okay.
Now we take speech to mean that a person wants to communicate
mm-hmm.
their needs. They want to be in relationship. They want to be in community, and they want to be in society. All these are speeches.
Mm-hmm.
Society is a speech. Community is a speech. They're forms of intelligences of with whom are you communicating and about what.
Mm-hmm.
So we go back to what do you need to say to be able to exercise your fundamental rights to a place in family, community, society that says you are entitled as a human being to negotiate those spaces and have your needs be met.
Mm-hmm.
When we have a society that excludes people because of so many different things, they have to create societies of their own.
Mm.
So gangs are a substitution for a society that neglects its young people.
Mm-hmm. Mm. Okay.
They have to create belonging.
Mm-hmm.
Because why? Human beings must communicate.
Right.
We may call it a conspiracy, but it's still communication
Yeah.
for their fundamental needs to be addressed.
Okay.
However, when economy is shifted to say you need these skills to be in economies,
mm-hmm.
that is not often the truth. The first part of any economy is time.
Mm-hmm.
Where if I give my time and a person give their time, we'll create a relationship
mm-hmm.
that can find everything that we need to share in the larger society. But people's time are constrained by
mm-hmm.
our current cultural economy and limits belonging in a different way.
Okay, and I'm going to play again the other side for a second. Are you saying, because one of the reactions is, don't steal, get a job, right? You should be able to make money so you don't have to steal.
Right.
Okay. And you're saying that doesn't work.
I just absolutely love his familiarity with the situations, what the kids are going through, makes him a wonderful advocate, activist, facilitator, educator, and that's why I gave him the Beneficial Presence on the Planet Award. If you want to see the rest of that interview, please do free subscribe on my YouTube channel. You'll also get an alert then every 8 a.m. in the morning telling you there's a new show on its way. And that is it for show number 582. And I am counting. And I am delighted. And thank you again for staying with me. This is Dr. Marissa reporting live from my living room during the pandemic, reminding you that it is all about balance. Peace in, peace out, world peace through inner peace. And have the best day ever.